welcome back to JKLIVE Live here at Citizen Television. What a show, folks. It's all about guts and never giving up. Danita Gatti was woman rep in Migori back in 2013 when she could walk and run and campaign. Following year, car accident rendered her in a wheelchair. To this day, guess what? She's now the ODM nominee for women rep back in Migori. That's guts. Right next to her, Ruben Kagame, cataracts, made him blind. But I tell you, when he starts to sing, he's like a songbird. And he's running for president of Kenya. That's right. And right next to him, Tim Wanyonyi, victim of carjacking that left him in a wheelchair. But look at that. He ran for Westlands twice very successfully. He's back in Westlands again. Watch out. Man is on a roll. That's what the show's all about. Danita, I was asking before the break, are people more accepting of you now? I mean, because in 2013, let's face it, you were campaigning just like everyone else. Yes. And now campaigning, how do you campaign now in a chair? How do you campaign?
First of all, I want to just say that it takes guts, as you put it. It takes guts to get out and campaign as a disabled person, as a disabled Kenyan. Yes, people have known me in two ways. One, without a disability. Two, with a disability now. And I can tell you it's different. It is different. It took me time, and it took them time to just accept the way I am. And it has actually taken me time to build, I don't know, you kind of build it, because you lose it. Yeah. Because people are like, you're not the same. You're not, it's like they didn't know you. Yeah. But again, with the time, you spend your time. Like me, I've spent quite a lot of time proving to my people that it is the same me that you knew in 2013. It is the same me that, I'm just normal, only that I do my work on a wheelchair. The same, Parliament doesn't need anyone to go to Parliament with a djembe or a slasher. You go on a wheelchair and you see it, and I raise my hand up and I tell Mr. Speaker, I want to speak for my people.
Probably need to take one for a weapon.
Exactly. Exactly. So it has really taken me time to normalize my situation, my disability. Of course, people were, I remember in 2014, after I got the accident, and I went to meet my people. I had this big meeting at Migori Primary. And I can tell you, before I could get out of the car, the entire Migori Primary Stadium was crying. Everyone was crying because they saw a wheelchair. The first thing they saw was a wheelchair. And then they were like, this is not the person we elected. How can you come here the first time we're seeing you after an accident? The first thing we're seeing is a wheelchair. All the women cried. And I could not get out of the car. I'm telling you, and thank God, this God is very funny. It rained heavily. It rained heavily, yeah. And the meeting ended like that. So it took me time to build my confidence, of course, to build, because there's that feeling of shame. Yeah. I can tell you. You feel like, I'm not worthy. And that is how society has made persons with disabilities believe that probably when you are disabled, you're not worthy. But I have taken my time to consistently build myself and, put myself to the people. And I can tell you for sure now, and for your information, the opportunity that the people of Migori have given me by nominating me to be their women rep tells you that they have changed. They have accepted myself. They knew me because I have accepted myself. And I kept on going to work, even as a nominated member of Parliament. I've done quite a lot of work on the ground because I want them to normalize disability. I want them to see me as a disabled person, a disabled member of Parliament, a disabled woman, doing everything else that any other person does. And that is how it has. And Jeff, allow me to take this opportunity really to thank my people. Go on. Because they have shown that they trust me. The mere fact that Migori has just nominated me to come back to be their women representative, even despite the fact that I'm on a wheelchair. You see how things change. And it is because of the consistent efforts that you keep on doing. Yeah. Work for them. Let people see you the way you are.
But let me ask you real quick. You're campaigning in Migori right now, right? Yes. You see how people campaign, the way we see on TV, people are on rooftops of cars campaigning. How are you campaigning there?
It is tough. It is tough, I'm telling you. We have tried to adjust our cars. I have tried to adjust my car. I get in and I try. You know, for a disabled person like ourselves who use wheelchair, we have a way of supporting yourself in terms of supporting your feet, in terms of supporting, you know, yourself. You use, you know, gadgets, you know, calipers and things like that to try. And you find sometimes people helping you to rise up on the sunroof.
Yeah.
But it's extremely difficult. It is extremely difficult.
Is it the same thing for you, Tim? Is that the same thing?
Yes, but I have managed to modify my car, and I've bought a wheelchair which can stand. Now I get up on the roof also like anybody else.
So you can raise your chair to the roof?
Up on the roof, on top. Those who don't know me, they think I am standing.
That is it. Now imagine those. Imagine now those people who completely have no ability to modify their cars, and they want to throw themselves into the ring of politics. How does it happen? In Kiswahili, you say, "Mama," you know, for example, "Mama mlemavu siasani." You can imagine mtu mlemavu siasani. How is it? Inakuwa namna gani? There are so many challenges of persons with disabilities in politics, you know, in an elective position. And unless you really, you work 10 times as hard to be elected.
Sure.
It is not easy, Jeff.
Ruben, for a blind person as well, now are you doing the rooftop thing? Are you campaigning?
I can dance. I tried to play soccer with my son. He beats me at the game. But I try. Well, I can stand. I can speak. I told you I can drive under navigation.
Yep.
There are lots of things we can do. But, you know, the four of us here can talk all we want about our challenges. My concern is, down in the village, we have persons with disability that don't even have wheelchairs.
Yes.
They literally crawl on all four to get from one place to another. We have persons with disability, even on wheelchairs, that cannot get into government offices because, you know, an MP, a senator, MCA puts his office on the 3rd floor and there are no lifts.
Yeah.
Stairs all the way. And you know the way Kenyans build, you know, uneven stairs, difficult even for those who use stairs. And so we have to begin to think differently. And we don't blame the public. We don't blame society entirely. We need to educate society that when we do our planning, when we do our allocations, we need to be thinking about the average person without resources, without facilities. It is very cumbersome for me to cross a road, even at a zebra crossing. Why? Because the road culture in this country does not have people stopping at zebra crossings. And so we need those in the traffic department and all of those, and society in general, media included, to bring the awareness that includes people, maybe modify some of the matatus so that persons who cannot get or who cannot board properly can actually board. And it's all inclusive to sign language and things such as you know, the provision of hearing aids. And you know, it's very exciting when every time you start your bulletin here, you say, and our sign language interpreter.
Like today is Wilson Mushora. Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And so, you know, Citizen TV and, you know, Royal Media as a whole gets it. But does the government get it? We want the government to get it.
Tim, let me ask you this. Westlands, right? You successfully defended that seat since 2013, right? 2013, 2017, and now going back again. What is it about you? What is it? You have to tell us. What's the magic? And Westlands is not an easy place, huh?
Yes. I demystified something. The first time I got into Westlands, you know whom I was replacing? Fred Gumo.
Fred Gumo, correct? Kangumo.
Guy was there larger than life.
Yes.
But then I arrived the first day, people stood and said, what? Now they brought us a man on a wheelchair. How will this one help us? Then on and on, I kept going back and going to the villages and going to every street to campaign on my wheelchair. And last time I told them, when I'm coming, when you see me coming from a distance, what do you see first? Do you see my wheelchair first or you see me first? Then I told me, if you saw the wheelchair before you saw me, then you have a problem.
By the way, there's a picture of you on TV right now campaigning.
Yes.
You were explaining you modified your car, right?
Yes, yes.
And you can raise the chair.
I can raise to the roof.
Yes.
And that is the last road show I did in Kibra. Before I was told to say, now, you are going back to Westlands.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have a fighting spirit. And I know very well that I'm going to win it in Westlands back to Parliament.
I'll help you.
And this, yes, I will welcome you, my brother. You come and help me.
I'm not
there.
in a party, but
Yes.
I'll help you.
I'm going to win, and I'm not just going to win. I'll win with the biggest majority.
Yeah.
That I'll leave my competitors gasping for air.
Somehow I believe you, Tim.
Yes.
I believe you're going to do just that. Danita, tell me something. You know, people are probably watching people with disabilities for the first time, right? On a show like this. How do you want to change the narrative in this country? Because, you know, you were saying earlier, you've never been to the bench. You always see people on the bench. How come I've never invited, you know, people with disabilities? And now you're here. How do you want to change that narrative?
Jeff, you know, I've never been to JKL. This is my first time. I'm extremely delighted that you can host so many of us here. It is a very big plus. I can tell you, persons with disabilities are actually looking at us as leaders and wondering, how can we also make it? Because I'm telling you, we've just come out of a very rigorous nomination. We have just finished nominations, and persons with disabilities have fallen along the cracks. It has not been easy for them. And these are the things, these are the issues. Persons with disabilities, we have been trying even to work with our own political parties, for those of us who have political parties, to ensure that our political parties mobilize persons with disabilities to belong. I really want to congratulate Mheshimiwa Kigame, because it is not easy to make it as an independent candidate. And I'll not lie. Yeah. Political parties usually have some strength. They support my political party, for example, the ODM party, has a disability league. And most political parties must actually also have disability leagues. You know, when you belong to a political party, like the ODM party, or even now Kenya, I think they have a disability league, that actually has, you know, a component that focuses on empowering persons with disabilities of that party, it becomes a little easier for you to have the courage to say, I am offering myself to a position of leadership. I want my party to support me. I want this to happen. But I can tell you it has not been easy. It has been extremely difficult. And I know moving forward, as we are going forward, many persons with disabilities will belong. And they will basically come here. Right now in Parliament, as we speak, we have a bill. The Persons with Disabilities Bill now is alive in Parliament. And I can tell you the Persons with Disabilities Bill is seeking to actually repeal the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2003. You know, it has been years and years and years and years. Persons with disabilities have not had it easy in this country, whichever way. And Mheshimiwa Ruben is actually talking about issue of accessibility. And I can tell you, as a disabled person seeking to do politics, and you know the terrains that we go through. Yeah. I come from an area that has hills and valleys, and my wheelchair cannot access certain terrains. How then do we ensure that the laws that we put in place, including now the Persons with Disabilities Bill that we are seeking to strengthen, can make it easy for persons with disability to do politics, because it is their right. We have rights that are in the Constitution. Article 54 of our Constitution, for example, guarantees us political rights. So many rights, you know, so many.
Yeah. By the way, how far is this bill?
We are currently discussing
second
it.
Reading.
It's a second reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
and if it moves and moves, and you know, it is also likely that we might it might cross over to the next 13th Parliament.
Yeah. But the Constitution also talks a lot about inclusiveness. Mm-hmm. So freedom from discrimination in the Bill of Rights. You have all these values and so on. But again, when we talk about inclusion, it's very easy for us to talk about it here on the bench. But there are people who are not dealing with campaigning. There are people who are dealing with even just getting to the voting booth. Because are these voting booths friendly? If you just take a classroom in a primary school, are they friendly? When I go to tick on the ballot paper, how am I sure as a blind person that I'm ticking the right candidate? Because I'm depending on somebody to tell me Kigame's symbol is a concrete mixer. I mean, I can't see it. So there is the aspect of needing to transform those ballot papers so that they have special marks, for example, Braille, so that the person, you know, who needs to read Braille can, you can look at it, but next to it is a Braille dot that maybe has a name. So when we're thinking about inclusiveness, we need to go all the way, because I don't think government is involving persons with disability to advise them on what needs to be done. We need to have sign language interpreters at polling stations. We need to have, you know, if I go to attend her meeting, I'm quite likely going to have to go with a bodyguard, because if a riot emerges, you know, some fracas and so on, I need to be able to protect my life. And so I think the next government needs to discuss a lot more inclusiveness and how persons living with disability can actually have access not just to elective positions, but to voting rights as well.
Okay, Tim, you said this bill, PWB, People with Disabilities Bill 2003, is now in its second reading.
Yes.
So how far away is that? I mean, what are we talking?
So far it has been on the floor twice, yesterday and today. I'm sure by Thursday, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow. If it's still on the order paper, I'm sure we'll conclude the second reading. Then it will go to third reading, which means it goes to the committee now, where they have to bring in an amendment and all that. That is the most critical stage, because that is now where they refine the bill. And when it comes back to the House, the House adopts it with the amendments or without amendments. And then it goes to the President to sign. So I'm not seeing it making it before the Parliament adjourns.
I'll sign it for you.
Yes. Yes.
Ruben Kigame. So you don't see it making it before, German will be what, in June or something, right? Maybe,
yes, yeah. Because the House is going to adjourn at around 3rd or 4th June.
Correct.
And there are many other bills. And right now, what is taking priority in Parliament is the finance bill.
Yeah.
Is the budget.
Correct, the budget.
We have to make sure the government has money to use in the election and others. And going forward, you know, Chef, as people with disability, I remember in 2007, I was on the campaign team of Raila Odinga. I was drafted in his presidential campaign team, because I felt we are not having our voices on the big stage. And I used that opportunity to, you know, articulate the issues of people with disability, blah, blah. And at the end of it, I was given nomination to become a councillor, Nairobi City Council.
Right.
I went to Nairobi City Council and tried to change many things there. The first time I arrived there, the place was totally inaccessible. There were people with disability working in that place, and they would crawl from the ground floor to 4th floor. The lifts were there, but they were not functioning. So the first thing, I went to the town clerk, I asked him, how do I get to my office? The guy told me, I'll provide you 4 gentlemen who will be carrying you up and down. I said, no, you're indignifying me. Yeah. I don't want anybody to touch me. Can you fix the lifts? Yeah. And when we check those lifts, there was just disagreement of payment between the contractor and the city hall. He authorized the lifts were fixed. Up to now, they function. The second thing I did, I said, on every street corner, you must put a reservation for parking for people with disability. So when I drive in town, I don't have to struggle to look for parking. It must be there. We created many other things when I was there, including tax exemption for members who are working there with disability, and on and on. So our voice matters at the level of representation. We articulate our issues because we understand where the shoe pinches.
You've got to fight for it sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You have to fight.
Two quick incidents. I live in Wasingishu, and there's a building there that's called Barangetuni Plaza. To go into that building, you needed to go down. In fact, even today, anyone living in Wasingishu, you go down 9 steps. So it's like into a basement type descent. And so I had a partner that was in a wheelchair that we wanted to run. You know, she wanted to do a milk business in my bakery that I was running. Ended up giving it to my daughter to run. But she couldn't get down there unless she was carried. So I went to Mr. Patel, running the building there. I said, can we discuss this? Because I think I have a solution for you. Said, what's that? Said, let's create a ramp on the left side of these stairs. Says, a ramp? Who's going to pay for it? I said, you. And if you don't pay for it, you'll be in trouble because you've made this building inaccessible. Not to mention all the other floors with all these stairs, and persons with wheelchairs cannot go up there, even with crutches. It's tough. So I told him this is how you'd achieve the ramp. And, well, the first time he fixed it, it was pretty, like 45-degree. Right. Nobody could use it, even someone with ability to walk. Yeah. So I said, no, undo this. Make it gentle. Well, Barangetuni Plaza has a ramp. Second incident, I used to go to a bank, I will leave unnamed, and at the entrance, people would always park their cars. And so there was, for me to get into the building, I had to cross over a ditch, climb some stairs, when there is a proper ramp at the entrance of the bank, and people will not let you use it because they park their cars. I went to the manager, I said, what do you think you're doing? I said, remove these cars, because this is an obstruction. But I told him one other thing. If I come to your bank again and I find an obstruction, I'm going to blow you up on Facebook. I went to the bank, I found the same thing, tight parking, I couldn't pass. I blew them up on Facebook. Yeah. Well, guess what? It reached the Nairobi office. Something was done. It may be tough, but it's possible to change society. It is possible.
It is possible. There are a lot of questions on the magic wall. Let me just go there before before I ask all the questions. Got to give people a challenge. This is great. So much reaction. Jeremiah Karaoke saying, Persons with Disabilities Act 2003 is a great legal effort to empowering PWDs, though noted to have non-alignment with the 2010 Constitution. How would the team here work to review and have more PWDs in elective and appointed leadership? I was going to ask the bill, what's the fundamental thing it's going to change? Even though it may not pass by June the 3rd, but this PWD bill.
Jeff, you know, the PWD bill currently on the floor of Parliament is basically seeking to strengthen. And it is actually even talking about persons with disabilities and their participation in politics as per, as per the Constitution, right. Article 54 and even Article 29 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Now, what we may have to completely start doing again is to, again, work with our own political parties. Political parties in this country are also vehicles through which persons with disabilities or through which persons get into elective positions. So when we're talking about the persons with disabilities bill, seeking to see how then do we make make it conducive for persons with disabilities to be elected. Because, Jeff, truth be told, we have tried as a country. Let me tell you, and we must sometimes say, if you look at, 10 years ago, you could never find a disabled person anywhere nominated, leave alone elected. But now with the current 2010 Constitution, every county assembly is required to have 2 persons with disabilities nominated to sit in as county.
Come a long way in 10 years.
We have come a long way. We are
Okay.
trying to, to put everything together. We see how we can actually strengthen this bill for persons with disabilities.
Absolutely. Wanyonyi Manyonge, I don't think he's any relation to you, Tim, but he's saying, are political seats given or do you fight for it? If Honorable Tim Wanyonyi felt he was the best candidate for Nairobians, why didn't he go as an independent? I think Ruben would second that.
Yes.
The Constitution allows so. Tim,
Yes.
why didn't you go as independent?
That was a temptation.
He didn't meet me soon enough.
It was a temptation.
Yes.
But I felt that I still have another opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I will come back. My dream lives on. My dream is alive. I will come back.
Nice.
This time I will let my brother Yade go because it's my condition.
But you're telling him next time?
I'll come back.
And you're still young too, Tim, so you have time.
And he's in Azimio.
I'll even push his chair.
Yes.
Yeah. Chester Nyantika is saying the trio, Wanyonyi, Kigame, and Gati, are sharp and intelligent Kenyans, but unfortunately, Kenya is first. Gikuyu, Luya, Kamba, Kisi, etc., before he or she's an engineer, lawyer, physician, rich, middle class, hustler, etc. Tribe is the overriding factor in Kenyan politics. Ruben, you agree, don't you?
No.
You don't?
It's made to be. It ought not. It's not. When our children play in the estates, they don't think about tribe.
Right.
When we meet in high schools, we don't think about tribes. It's the elderly people in this country that enslave the youth to tribes. And they need to get out of leadership and give a chance to the youth because they don't think tribal. The author of that text, I challenge you. Whose thinking is that? Is that your thinking or something you actually just imbibe? So you need to desert. You need to run away from that thinking because the Kenya we are having from the 9th of August is 70% youth. And the elderly people need to stop, troubling the young people, marrying each other and, playing with one another, even finding elective positions without tribe.
Absolutely. Suleiman says, kindly, in the Bill of Persons with Disabilities, introduce a fund to the constituencies like CDF to assist people with disabilities in buying wheelchairs, hearing aids, braille, etc., etc. Tim, you agree, yeah? Is there a fund in there? Is there?
The fund is there, but not at the constituency level. The fund is established as a national fund, which is funded by a national government, and it's even there right now. What this bill is trying to do is actually trying to align now this bill, the law, to the constitution and also to the UN convention. We want now to reach at that level where most of those things that are mentioned in the Constitution are reflected in the Act.
Yeah.
And that's why the Act has not been very helpful because there were so many hindrances. There are many things that we wanted to achieve, but you could not achieve because they were not captured at that time.
Right.
You remember, it's 2003.
Correct, 2000. Almost 20 years.
Yes, yes.
Almost 20 years.
And it took 10 years. For example, it took 10 years for that Act to be implemented. Because every time they say there was no money.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
yet,
they say we do it gradually.
Yes,
progressively.
Yes.
Progressively.
Yeah.
Go on, Danita.
We have the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. That is the council, basically, where, it's funded by the government. The funds get into the council, and the council is now mandated by law.
Is it active?
It is active. What we probably need to do is to strengthen it so that it increases its funding. Yeah. We need to lobby more funding to get into the council that goes into...
And also devolving it.
Because
yes,
I have...
need to devolve.
I have actually come up with a motion the other day requiring that national government actually supports persons with disabilities with assistive devices free of charge. If we can find a way so that there is a way in which every person, if, for example, my wheelchair gets spoiled in Migori or Isebania, where I come from, I do not have to come to Nairobi to buy a wheelchair. The government must find a mechanism through which, you know, if I want to renew my wheelchair, I'll get it at my nearest hospital.
Yes.
Isbania Hospital or Migori District Hospital.
The government also needs to move with the times.
Those are the issues. We want to help the government to really make it easier, because persons with disabilities live in counties and villages. They don't live in Nairobi.
That's why Tim says devolve this.
Correct.
Devolve the...
Correct.
Okay.
Devolve it, but also move with the times, because we're still thinking about reading Braille on paper when, you know, persons with visual disability are doing computers. And so we need to equip high schools, for example, and college students with disability with laptops instead of Braille machines.
Absolutely.
So we need to be thinking ICT and the technology that guides the world now.
Yeah. Wabara is asking you, Pastor Kagame, who's your running mate?
Before Sunday, I'll declare.
Oh, okay. Good answer. Good answer. Serone Chason is saying, please ask Ruben Kagame if he'd support my brave efforts to what's that? Cannabis, whatever. Okay.
Cannabis sativa.
He must be in that Roots party. Frank Orinde is saying PWDs must be given the fair chance to compete for leadership positions devoid of discrimination and stigma. Do you still feel there's a bit of discrimination, Tim, out there, and stigma? Is it still there?
Do you know, in America, Persons with Disabilities Act has been made a constitutional issue. And it's a very serious issue when you cite discrimination. If you go to our supermarket or any place, any public place, and you could not get in, you cite discrimination. In fact, in America, they have published, when you enter a building, they have published a very big board there that's saying we are ADA compliant, which means American Disabilities Act compliant. And one of the things they do is that if I come through that door, for example, if I cannot turn around with my wheelchair and go back, then you are not compliant. So what we are saying is that we need to find a way of making adjustment, not just in buildings, even on the roads, the public transport, and many, many other places, so that when I go somewhere, I don't need somebody to move around with me. I can go by myself.
And Jeff, we have a swing vote.
Yes.
Persons with disability.
Yeah.
Go on. Was that Bush?
Yes, George Bush.
Yes.
George Bush won by the persons with disabilities.
So we should not be ignored.
They provided a swing vote. 40 million Americans voted for George Bush.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's how he beat Al Gore.
In 2000.
And it's coming again.
Wakili Tony Manyara Mugira is saying majority of PWDs in Kenya are often trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty and disability. Any leader who gets an opportunity in top office should address their plights. The majority are suffering without knowing what or where to go. It's just like what you were saying, Danita.
Totally.
They crawl up buildings.
Totally.
There's no wheelchair availability. I mean, and the stigma is still there.
Yeah. Totally. The poorest of the poor Kenyans are persons with disabilities. That is a fact. Stigma, you know, everything is just wrong.
Do you know?
So we need to find a way.
Some of us don't exist.
They don't treat you like a human being.
Even in the presidential race, I don't exist.
At some stage.
That's why we keep talking about two horses, because we don't exist.
Yeah. Go on, Tim.
At some stage, you know, that's when people realize that you are there, if they need you.
Right.
Sometimes you are there, but nobody even, they are talking about you as if you are not there.
Oh, goodness.
Are
you serious?
Yes.
You're in the room.
Yes.
They're talking about you.
They're talking about you as like
you're not there.
And one of the example, I'll give you an example. When before I went to Parliament, we were invited there by the clerk then, when they were trying to adjusting Parliament, because they knew the next Parliament is going to have people with disability. And we went there and checked and gave suggestions on how they can improve on the accessibility. Guess what? When I was elected, we got there was no adjustment.
It was still the same.
There was no place for me to sit. They quickly had to pluck a chair from some position and told me to sit there. At one time, they put a table at the center of the Parliament and said, you'll be sitting here. I said, no, I cannot sit there.
Yeah.
and on like that.
Jeff.
Goodness.
Jeff,
in Parliament itself.
Yes, where we make law.
Well, you make the laws.
Exactly. Jeff, allow me just quickly say that we are in a season of campaigns now. And I can tell you for sure what we have been doing as a member of Parliament for persons with disabilities, for example, we have been ensuring that we have platforms where governors answer to persons with disabilities. I can tell you if governors, all these persons with disabilities in this country can hold their governors to account, what is it that you want to do for persons with disabilities in your county? Because right now, every governor is looking for votes from persons with disabilities. You will be seeing them ferrying people to actually go and vote in their cars and Mercedes.
Correct.
But they have no blueprint. They have no agenda and manifesto for persons with disabilities. And that's what I'm saying. Persons with disabilities must hold their governors. Right now, this is the best time. You cannot wait and say, the governor has already come in and you are coming to... Let them now. This is the opportunity to use. And that's what I've done in my county. Because in my county, Migori, we as persons with disabilities of Migori are holding every governor aspirant to actually answer to us. What is it that you want to do for our people? Employability. Look at persons with disabilities. How many are employed in county governments? All the CECs, you can hardly, I'm lucky I have one in my county, but most of the CECs in the county governments, all these positions, you'll never find a person with disability working there as a CEC, County Executive Committee.
Correct.
You understand? So there are loopholes, and this is the time that persons with disabilities must hold their governor aspirants accountable and write memorandum and completely agree. So that is how we are mobilizing our people, because the poorest of the poor are persons with disabilities. They have no jobs. I mean, we have issues.
You know the way most county governments and sometimes the national government approaches disability issues is through charitable discussions or CSR.
Right.
CSOs. So you get to a point where instead of calling you to discuss policy, they'll call you for pilau. You know, I remember refusing to go for a meeting in Vihiga County, where I ran in 2013, passed my entire agenda to the government of the time. And I told them I can set up music schools and I could set up studios for you, for the young people, and so on. So when I'm called for a meeting, I'm told the governor would like to have you for a meal. I said, a meal? And then? So he just wants to meet you. I said, he knows me. I said, I'm not going. Another time, I was appointed, you know, I did an interview for, to be director of a particular thing somewhere. Passed, I was told I was the best. Never got the job. Never got the position.
And did they explain?
Oh, well, the funding went through, but there was nobody in the office. That's how corrupt we are.
Good Lord.
And so we can talk all we want, but until we have persons with disability in government, they don't know what we're going through.
They don't know.
They have no idea.
No.
And you bet we probably are the best people to represent persons with disabilities.
Derek Nando is saying, watching PWDs in leadership on JKLIVE gives me hope as a parent with a disabled child. I just pray that God gives me wisdom and resources to give him the best in his life. Thank you for hosting these great people. Well done. Derek Nandwa there. What message, Danita, do you tell people? There's parents watching with disabled kids. And they're thinking, you know, this kid probably has no future. But look at you now. You're giving them hope. What do you tell them?
I want to ask them to hang on there. Hang on there and you know, there's nothing that comes easy, but it is also doable. Everything is just doable. I want to tell Kenyans with disabilities not to, you know, we are in a season where every county, this country is preparing itself for the next 5 years. Persons with disabilities must not just sleep. We must organize ourselves. We must raise ourselves. Even associations of parents of children with disabilities must come up, because their resources are in the counties. You know, then resources are in Nairobi, but counties are the new governments. They are the new governments who control resources. We must organize ourselves, and we must hold our governors accountable, because they are the presidents. They are the ones who will be controlling resources of our people who live in counties. We don't live here. I do understand the challenges. Most of our persons with disabilities, they are unemployed. They cannot, economically, we are down. We are extremely down. And for me, I want to actually ask our governors now to answer to persons with disabilities of this country. We cannot be used as tokenism anymore. We will not. We have moved beyond begging and being on the streets. I mean, look at us. We are lucky to be here to talk on behalf of the millions of Kenyans with disabilities. But you can imagine if we get opportunities to actually, you know, even you are a citizen. I mean, citizen is huge in this country. You are aware of that. And what we are talking about as leaders of persons with disabilities, we are bringing to fore the challenges that we face. We are at a situation where we God willing, we will be in positions of leadership. God willing. And I know me, I will, because Migori trusts me.
Me too.
And they love me. Team will. And you can see, we are inspiring hope.
Yeah.
And we are not just about giving hope. We must reason. We must... Jeff, persons with disabilities in this country are still suffering under stigma. You know, there's a lot of stigma. Governors must get into the root. They must know the population of persons with disability in their counties. We can no longer sit and say, oh, in Tharaka Nithi, for example, you hear children with disabilities are locked with the animals. You know, those are long gone cases. We must belong to this country. We must own this country as persons. And we must be seen, by the way, not just as people who can be ferried to go and vote. You know, now we are being prepared to go and vote. We are also standing and offering ourselves to positions of leadership so that we support.
One of the things, Jeff, that we need also to do to encourage parents with children with disability, to make them to understand that a child is a child. It doesn't matter what condition that child is. And to start off, we must have schools, integrated schools, where children with disability are not separated from other children. They go and learn together. They play together. These other children will understand them, and they will, in the long run, they will not even see that this other child is, abled differently. When I go anywhere outside the country, I always want to benchmark and see what they are doing with issues of disability. And the best place I've gone and seen is like in America. I went to a school whereby the children with disability, even with severe disability, they have classes and they are learning with children with no disability, and they take them at the level where this child, the other child, must also adopt with this system.
Same class, same
teacher, yeah. And they have even used sound system where there's, and even the way the school is, modeled, it just suits everything you call the bathroom, everything. Yeah. It just shows that these people are very sensitive to issues of disability, and they even encourage parents who are willing to come and even assist in the school, and the school employs them.
Will we ever get there, Tim? Do you see that? Are we getting there anytime soon?
Yes, we are getting there, because we have schools. In Westlands, for example, I've studied units in the normal primary schools where we have children with disability are also going to learn. If you go to Akakani Primary, you'll find deaf children. If you go to other schools, you'll find children with physical disability, and they're learning together with us, these other children. So we just make adjustment. You go there and just make adjustment that the classes are accessible, the washrooms are accessible, and on like that, so that this parent also have the confidence, I can bring the child to school and leave that child and go home.
Yeah. We also need a legal framework that can support efforts like what Mheshimiwa is having in Westlands, because there are parents that actually abuse the children. I took up a child that the father completely rejected to take care of because of disability. And that child is now in school. The government needs to pay you to put more funds in disability education, because up to now, with free education and the transition to inclusiveness, we still have, I think I'm paying for 3 in high school right now. Why should I? When, you know, there are not many. The government could take up that, that burden. When CBC was being implemented, they took priority of, you know, they had priority with literature in other, you know, with a visual, you know, in print. Yeah. But like Braille, books took long. In fact, I don't think we have all of them. And so funding is allocated, never quite gets to do the job. So we need to get rid of corruption. We need to get rid of valuelessness. We need to get rid of indignity and bring this country to a level where we understand, like I said before, disability is nobody's immune from disability. Today, you could be sitting in an office refusing to pass that bill or to legislate. Tomorrow, it will be a carjacking, like in his case, God forbid. It could be an accident, like in her case, God forbid. It could be cataracts. So I think we need to do a lot more education, yes, and parents with children with disability need to come to a point where they look at us and realize that with opportunities, even their children can actually succeed. Absolutely. And if there was anything this country could do to inspire hope and inclusiveness, it would be to give us a chance to lead, because it would change the trajectory of hopelessness in this country. It would also change the thinking. We would begin to feel accepted. I hope that even our worthy competitors can take this agenda and, you know, prioritize it. We need to bring it to the forefront for discussion. Absolutely.
Reuben Kigame, we're going to have to leave it at that. Thank you. So I could talk forever and ever. This is a great subject, and you guys have really inspired a lot of people. Reuben Kigame, Tim Wanyonyi, Denita Gatti, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
You guys have been fantastic. This is
thanks to Citizen TV.
Yes.
Reuben, for lack of a better phrase, this is eye-opening. I'm sorry I had to say that.
Don't be don't. It was eye-opening.
I love it. You know, this is such a great attitude, and I hope people out there do get the hope, do realize that disability is not inability. These guys can do it. Tim Wanyonyi is coming back to Westlands. Mpendem Sipende.
Yeah.
And Denita will get her Migori seat. Reuben, good luck to you too,
Inshallah.
as you run for president.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being a part of JKL. Please keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag is JKL. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other.
Yeah.
JKL.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, folks. Good night. Good luck. God bless Kenya. Thank you, folks. Thank you so much. Great job.